Smith.
And welcome, brothers, sisters, working class heroes. This is the Rick Smith Show. Thanks so much for being here. Hey, new line. I love it. This history we found out. I don't effing care if they have weapons. That's going to be right up there with, government of, for, and by. We the people should not perish from the earth. Abe Lincoln, that's right up there with Franklin Roosevelt's. The only thing we have to fear is fear itself. JFK and the ask not what you can do, what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. Or even Ronald Reagan, Mr. Gorbachev, open up this gate and tear down this wall. Yeah. We've now got the Orange Menace. I don't effing care if they've got weapons. They're not here to hurt me. Take the effing mags away. Let my people in. They can march to the Capitol from here. Let the people in. Take the mags away. Yeah. I can just see that now. It's going to be on a giant billboard. Yeah, that's welcome to America. Take the mags away. Let the faithful. The other one is, let them hang Mike Pence. History, my friends, history in the making. And what did our corporate controlled for-profit right-wing conservative media focus on today? Was it that we had a president that wanted his vice president hung? Was it the fact that he was okay with the people who were there being armed with weapons and overarmed, overwhelmed the Capitol Police? Was that the story? No, that was not the story. No. What we got was ketchup on the wall. We got flying hamburgers. That's what we got, flying hamburgers. Yeah, occasionally, evidently, that's the big thing. People were shocked, I tell you. We had a president who threw temper tantrums. And I'm going, hello? Seriously? This is what we're focusing on today? That there was ketchup dripping down the wall? That the worst thing this guy could have done was throw his dish against the wall? Seriously? That's what we're focusing on? Flying hamburgers. Never mind that he wanted his vice president hung. I mean, oh my gosh. I'm not surprised. Now look, I'll be honest. I woke up looking for this stuff today. I woke up looking for the absurd, for the ridiculous media culture that we have that gives us the shiny stuff, a good healthy dose of outrage candy to keep us, focused in the wrong direction. I'm expecting that. And of course, you were waiting for the right-wing voices to attack Cassidy Hutchinson. Of which, the first thing, here's the reality. This is why I believe what she had to say. One, her career as a MAGA zealot, over. The Kool-Aid that she drank, it's over. The path she was on that she could have led a very comfortable life in, over. More importantly, if you remember, the first response from the former guy was not that she's a liar. No. Not that anything she was saying was untrue. No, it wasn't that. No. It was to attack and diminish her. I don't know who she was, attack her character, her. Wasn't about what she was saying. No, because true. And this is what they do. It's all about the deflecting. Now, they let the other stuff to the right-wing minions, who then are going to try and pick pieces apart here and there. Oh, wait a second. Here's the reality. Donald Trump's so fat he can't go after the steering wheel. Doesn't mean he didn't try. Doesn't mean he didn't make an attempt. Now, was the attempt successful? Because one of my favorite cartoons of the day are, a tiny child like Trump with little baby hands, trying to get around the neck of a giant, Secret Service agent who's just kind of like, get off me, old man. I get that. Didn't mean he didn't try. So yeah, that's been the fun part. Now for me, again, what came out of the hearing, what came out of Cassidy Hutchinson's testimony, the big stuff for me was, as I said, our quote of the day: take down the freaking mags. Let all the people with weapons that he knew had weapons, because for those who've been longtime listeners, you may remember on January 6th, on the day of the insurrection, I was questioning how and why all of these people had things. I don't know, like metal flagpoles. How do you get those? Because I've been to protests at the Capitol. They only let you have cardboard tubes. Not even aluminum tubes like the Bush years. Cardboard tubes. No metal flagpoles with eagles on the top. No weapons like that. You're not allowed to have that. And now we find out, because of Miss Hutchinson's testimony, that the criminals who came armed and ready for the insurrection, because they knew what was going on, because it was pre-planned, they didn't go through the mags, which upset the Donald, because he wanted his people right up close. He wanted the photo op, and again, his vanity. This is the part that I think people should be focused on. The fact that he was more concerned about his vanity and his size, his crowd size. All of my people loving really close to me. It's not enough that they were there with weapons ready to overthrow a government for him. No, they had to be a little bit closer. They had to get in the photo op. They had to make sure that the crowd size photo was there. I mean, this is amazing. And to have the MAGA world go, no, it's all a lie. It's all made up. It's all no good. We got to figure out something. We found out that the House Minority Leaders told Trump not to come to the Capitol. Don't do it. Don't do it. You got the White House counsel saying, don't do it. Unimaginable amounts of crimes. Still wanted to do it. Because, again, above the law. Nothing going to stop him. And this is where you start coming to the reality that these people, they don't, this isn't about democracy. This isn't about the will of the people. This isn't about America. This is about ego. This is about one guy and a whole bunch of people attempting to appease him because he's brainwashed a generation. And I'm still struggling with this. I'm still struggling with the fact that there are still in this moment people who are going to look at that testimony and, oh no, she's making stuff up. Understand, this 26-year-old woman, she could have been on easy street. She could have been. She could have kept her mouth silent. She could have taken the threats from whoever is twisting arms and making those, hey, you got a nice career there. Shame if something happened. We also found out that there's somebody, and I'm hoping we find out who it is very soon. Somebody going around going, hey, you might want to stay loyal. Good things happen to people who stay loyal. Yep. Love to hear your thoughts. 1-866-416-RICK, 1-866-416-7425. Yeah, I mean, I'm fascinated by some of the news coverage that I've seen lately. The Michael Flynn thing hasn't gotten a lot of attention, other than, a guy who praised the peaceful transfer of power and had, talked at length about how it makes us exceptional. He now pleads the fifth when asked if he supported the said concept. Found that interesting, The fact that both Rudy Giuliani and Mark Meadows both asked Trump for pardons, I think that's interesting. We're finding out a lot more. And oh, by the way, here's the good news today. the former White House counsel, Pat Cipollone. He has been subpoenaed to testify. Now, this is one of these moments. It's one of those moments where I go, did he get subpoenaed because they demanded it, or did he get subpoenaed because he needs the subpoena so that he has the cover to go, hey, they made me come in? No. Going to be interesting to see what the guy who said the suicide pact stuff. Going to be interesting to see what he's got to say. I hope we get to see it. I hope we do. But this is fascinating stuff. And oh, by the way, my congressman's name, Scott Perry, came up again in that hearing. Again, somebody who reportedly has asked for a pardon. We now know that he was in talks with Trump about going to the Capitol. He was there too. So again, a lot of questions for my congressman, Scott Perry, the Brigadier General. Again, somebody I find very scary and very, very dangerous in this moment. Let's go to the phones. Got Alice on one. Alice, how we doing?
We're doing. Yeah, I'm like you. It's like the media is trying to divert on some things, and it's just really ridiculous. And I'm thinking to myself, you know what? Had one Democrat's name came up doing anything illegal, it would be splashed all over the place, and they would be making such a big deal out of it. It's just not even funny.
Yep. No, and the other part of this is, you now look back at how unprepared the Capitol Police were. And you think about it from the frame that Trump knew that that these people, the very best people, his people, the people who weren't there for him but willing to hang Mike Pence, how heavily armed they were. And then you look at the cops and what they were armed with. Most of them were just, had their batons and just, and little shields. They were woefully unprepared for what was going on. And this was, I argue, planned.
Oh, I agree with you. And, everyone at that point in time on January 6th, and for like a week, 2 weeks afterwards, everyone that wasn't a Republican, that is, was saying, why did they get in there with weapons? How did they do that? Why weren't the cops prepared? And we all suspected it, but now we have confirmation, I guess.
Yeah, well, going to be interesting to see what Cipollone has to say. Are you upset about the China, though? I mean, because that's what we're supposed to be upset about, the ketchup on the wall, the broken China, the hamburgers against the wall. I guess that's what we're supposed to be upset about.
Hey, you know what? That sounds like Melania's problem, not mine.
Oh, you think she's on her hands and knees cleaning up the dishes? No. That's never happened. From what I understand, she's living in Maryland with her parents in a house that she bought. Well, yeah. She's not even living with him. Well,
so hey.
That's their deal. I'm not. Don't care. None of my business. Let them deal with whatever they got to deal with. But appreciate the thoughts,
yep.
Alice.
Take care.
Great stuff. No, look. I'm clearly not all that concerned about the ketchup in the hamburger. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. 1-866-416-RICK, 1-866-416-7425. Going to take a quick break. Right back here on the other side. What do you think? I mean, is it that big of a deal? The hamburgers, the ketchup on the wall. Do you think Melania was on her hands and knees scrubbing the carpet? You think? No, not a chance. Quick break. Right back. Stick around.
From the steel mills of Pennsylvania, to the auto factories of Michigan, to the modern makers movement, manufacturing makes our nation great. I'm Scott Paul, President of the Alliance for American Manufacturing. We bring business and labor together to advocate for policies that everyone can agree on. Together, we can strengthen manufacturing and create good-paying American jobs. Help us keep it made in America.
So, R&B singer R. Kelly sentenced to 30 years in prison. Good for him. Evidently, sex trafficking case. Along with the, what's her name? The Giselle Maxwell, I think that's how you say her name. She got 20 years. A lot of people in the sex trafficking thing, a lot of sexual abuse stuff, getting some serious time. Not so much in the religious community, though. Not so much there. As the FBI has opened what they're calling a sweeping probe of clergy in New Orleans, evidently a bunch of sex abuse cases there, and just in time for the end of Roe versus Wade, and what I've been saying is going to be a conservative pivot to reinvigorating the social safety net. This is one of those moments where I'm telling you, I think this is going to happen. Mark the words. And I got a bunch of pushback from people. No, conservatives hate poor people. Yeah, they hate poor people. I didn't say they were going to help them. I said they're going to pivot to social programs that they can privatize. And someone said, well, you have to explain that because I don't quite get what you're saying. If you remember the George Bush years, this is my argument. If you remember the George Bush years, everything was about faith-based initiatives. Remember that phrase, faith-based initiatives. We were going to give a bunch of money to faith-based organizations, the do-gooder folks in the name of God Incorporated, to go out and do supposedly the good work that they're supposed to be doing. Now, are there some that do? Yeah, I think there are. Do I think most of them are spinning their wheels and wasting? Absolutely. Do I think most of the money that we give in tax breaks to churches is a horrible waste of tax dollars? Yes. I think we should be taxing churches like anybody else. They should be paying their fair share like everybody else. Because I'm sorry, I just don't see the value in the big picture, in the aggregate. That said, doesn't mean I'm anti-religion. I believe everybody should, follow your conscience, follow your creator, follow your God, follow whatever you want. That is your right. That's what you do. I do my thing, you do yours, but I shouldn't have to subsidize and pay for yours. It's that simple. But during the Bush years, they gave a whole boatload of money to different organizations to do community work. And because conservatives have been getting beat up for years about the fact that they don't really give a rat's behind about the homeless. They don't really care about hungry children. They really don't care about the poor. They really don't care about the downtrodden. Now remember, the religious people are the people who are supposed to be the ones out there healing the sick and taking care of the elderly and worrying about the downtrodden. That's supposed to be what Jesus was all about, right? So the faith-based initiatives were supposed to reward those people doing the good work, and that's how we were going to provide the social safety net. We don't need evil government. We need people closest to the problem. This is what the argument was. And they blew a bunch of money on this. And honestly, the results were minimal. There was some good done, but for the most part, the results were minimal. A lot of tax dollars went into feeding a machine. That's what's going to happen here. And you're already seeing a ramping up of a lot of these organizations, and now the pivot of, hey, now we'll help you, get the health care you need. We'll help you get the food you need. We'll help you get all the services you need. You come through us. And as I argued, there are certain groups locally that I don't deal with. There are certain organizations that I just, because of their stance on, we'll only help you if you get into our religious track. We'll only give you food or shelter or assistance if you follow our mission. And I don't think that that's how it should be. I'm someone who believes you help someone, and if they want to come to your mission, then that's one thing. But to mandate it, to require it, that's a problem for me. And I've not worked with those groups. This is what I see us going for as a matter of policy, as a matter of addressing those programs, and the pivot for conservatives to now say that they care about the children that are forced being born. They don't care about them now, and I think that's important to realize. They've always been against social spending on food stamps. I mean, think about what they just did with the extra $250 a month for the poorest families in this country. Absolutely under no circumstances were they going to allow that to continue. And as I said back then, think of how cruel that was. Because I remember as a kid being, poor and not knowing it, not knowing that it wasn't right, normal, natural, good, any of those things, that we were struggling so much, that there wasn't food in the house at the end of the month, that my mother was always worried about us being evicted, that there was always a concern of, keeping the lights on, or you get the picture. But that little bit of money, gave them that, like Joe Biden says, a little bit of breathing room. Gave them that little bit of, hey, there's going to be food at the end of the month, a little bit of a cushion. And then to show them what was possible, to say this is how it could be, and then to just snatch it away, especially right after Christmas. Merry Christmas. In the most religious time of the year, we're going to make sure that you go back into poverty. Remember them for that, because that's who they are. So when they come and say, no, now we care about the poor and the homeless and the hungry, and we care about, the elderly, and we care about all the people we've been dumping on for decades, think about it in the frame of faith-based initiatives that they're going to propose is all about funneling tax dollars through private or religious organizations into campaign dollars for these people to line their pockets with. Because that's how this game is going to be played. And oh, by the way, we're going to enrich a couple more really rich charlatan preachers. So you're going to get another one to maybe own another stadium somewhere. You're going to get another one who wants a $60 million jet. You're going to get another one who wants, more. While there are people in their congregation and in their eyes shot who are going to bed hungry, who are going to sleep on the street, who are going without health care, who are not getting the medicine and the medical attention that they need, who aren't getting, the education that they should be getting. This is my problem with conservative ideology. This is my problem with conservatism. Talk a good game, follow through not there. All this preaching about privatization, we'll let the market decide. Well, the market sadly decides that only the well-connected and the affluent get what they need. While kids like me growing up in a place like I did will get nothing. And that's where my problems begin, and why we have to really start fighting back against this. I'd love to hear your thoughts. You can email me, rick@thericksmithshow.com. Going to take a quick break. Right back. Stick around. If you missed any portion of the program, make sure you grab the podcast. Always there, always available, wherever you get your podcasts. Back after this.
Calling all builders, all welders and roofers, engineers and electricians. Calling all brick masons and boiler makers, steel workers and steam fitters. Your country is calling you to rebuild America, to create a cleaner, safer, more prosperous future for all. Tackling climate change, this is the job of our lifetime. It's time to build back better. Let's get to work.
It doesn't matter what kind of weather. It doesn't matter what time of day or night. When Mother Nature's done her worst, the only thing that matters to us is keeping the lights on for you. The hardworking women and men of the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, dedicated to keeping the power on in communities all across the country. Because when bad weather strikes, we know what matters most. IBEW, the power professionals.
Welcome back to the Rick Smith Show. Now, here is Rick Smith.
So on Thursday, you're going to have Justice Stephen Breyer retiring. Going to officially leave the Supreme Court, and Ketanji Brown Jackson will be sworn in as his replacement. Just in time for the EPA decision. Yay! That ought to be fun. But yeah, he's off into the sunset, and we'll now see what happens going forward. Also, it looks like Georgia, little sanity down in the Georgia race. Raphael Warnock has a double-digit lead over Herschel Walker. I wonder how much has to do with the Roe decision, or how much of it is just Walker's such a bad, crazy candidate. But we'll see. We'll see how much this Roe decision plays into the November elections. Here to share some thoughts on, where we are where we're going, and maybe how important the ketchup on the walls and the broken dishes and the hamburger on the floor really are. I've asked our good friend Bill Scheer to come talk with us. Bill's a writer over at the Washington Monthly. Bill, thanks for taking time for us.
Always a pleasure.
So, you paid attention to the big hearings, are you?
I am, as best I can.
So I'm sure, like the rest of the mainstream corporate-controlled for-profit media, you were outraged about ketchup on the wall and the broken dishes. I'm sure that is where your focus was.
Did he lunge or did he not lunge? This is the crucial question. Look, I think no matter what's happening political here, history is being recorded. We're seeing in very granular detail that Donald Trump tried to overturn a legitimate election and went to absurd, ridiculous lengths to do so. I mean, the hopeful aspect of it, in my opinion, is that I do think the Constitution held. You literally had a president of the United States doing everything he could think of to trample on a legitimate election, and he could not do it because the Constitution and the laws do not allow him to do it. But there's no mistaking what he wanted to do and how determined he was to do it.
He wanted the vice president to be hung. I mean, when today's news was about ketchup on the wall, I didn't see many stories about him being okay with his number two being hung. Bill.
Well, being okay with people armed showing up at his rally so long as they didn't hurt him. I mean,
exactly.
I mean, there's this weird pairing of how extreme he was willing to go and how ridiculous the plot was. It wasn't. This is the Keystone Cops operation. Yet at the same time, it literally could have led to worse violence than what we actually saw because he was so cavalier and glib about people being armed on his behalf.
Yeah, I mean, take the bags down, take them down. I want my people closer because he wanted the photo op. I mean, think about what the messaging and think about what historians in 100 years are going to look back at this moment and think about that administration.
And the positive thing is that we know, we have the evidence, we have the documentation, in large part because he, as much as he demanded loyalty of people, so many people were not loyal to him because what he wanted to do was so insane that they could not hold their tongues. They felt it necessary to tell the public what has happened. And so we do know what he did. Our eyes are wide open. And I mean, I can't predict what the Republican Party is going to do with it. But you do see some evidence that even people who I would not call moderates in the Republican Party, that some of them even want to move on from this and don't want Trump to define what their party is.
Yeah. Now, I guess the big question I have for you, because we had this conversation a while ago. Do you think this leads anywhere? Do you think any indictments eventually happen? Do you think this goes? Because I said from the beginning, there's no way he's ever going to be held accountable. That we just don't do that. I got to tell you, these hearings have made me question that a little, not a lot, but question that a little bit because, wow, there's so much here.
Well, it only puts the pressure on Attorney General Garland. If he's not going to indict, he's got to explain why. And it's a tough position. I'm not someone who is inclined to berate Garland for being careful here because it's not a light thing to indict a former president, someone who is clearly gearing up for president again, because it can so easily be considered a political act. But there is such overwhelming evidence here that it does make it hard to look away. And that's one of the values of this commission, because if Garland does indict, I think to a lot of people, it's not going to seem political. It's going to seem obligatory because of what we know.
Yeah. Now, the other question I have is if Trump does run again, who will sign up to be his number two, knowing that he was willing to send his former number two to the wolves?
Well, it's a little hard to know of the people who are going to Iowa and going to New Hampshire, are these people who want to run themselves, or are they running to be Trump's number two? Do they believe that it's not politically feasible to oppose him in a Republican primary, and they just want to suck up to him? So if he does run, he'll pick that person for number two, and that person will look good in the eyes of Republican voters in 28 and 32. Or are they running? Are they making these moves because they think Trump is losing steam, and they want to be there when there's a sense that his time has passed?
Yeah. Now you, Bill, are one of the most level-headed people I know. I've got a lot of friends saying, "No, this is going to be a wave election with the hearings, with Roe, with all this stuff going on. You know, Democrats are they're gonna sweep this election." You think that's possible? I don't, but I'm curious. You think
possible that Democrats can come back, or possible that we have a red wave?
The Democrats can come back.
It's possible. I mean, look, you have not seen a lot of heartening data up until this point. With Biden's numbers are low, inflation's high. There hasn't really been much of a. I mean, every time the Democrats get a win of some sort, it gets undercut. I mean, the day they actually pass a gun safety bill is the day that Roe v. Wade is overturned. So they can't even take that victory lap. When the infrastructure bill passed and Bill Buckbetter got stabbed in the back by Joe Manchin, a few weeks later. So they haven't been able to string together the kind of victories that make people feel that this administration is on track. In the eyes of history, you'd say this is going to be a disaster for Democrats. But this decision, this Roe v. Wade decision, is so seismic. I mean, I can't tell you today whether it's going to be impactful come November or not, but I don't think it's a small thing. I think a lot of things have to come together. I think inflation has to come down at least somewhat. I think Democrats probably need to get some kind of reconciliation bill passed so that base gets some motivation again. But if you're able to go to the public and say, this not only is this decision bad, but Republicans up and down the ballot are determined to make it even worse, to take away as much of your reproductive freedom as they can possibly think of. Don't let them. That is not an irrelevant factor to this midterm. And so I would not go into this fall assuming that it's all over.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. You're listening to the Rick Smith Show. We're here with Bill Scheer. He's a contributor, political writer over at the Washington Monthly. We'll get links out of social media. I can take a look at his writing. Now, you had Cassidy Hutchinson testifying. Immediately they came out and they attacked her. Trump attacked, basically the normal Trump attack. I barely knew who she was. She's nobody, that kind of nonsense. Didn't say that what she said wasn't true. Now you have other people who are saying that they're going to come and testify. I guess the people who claim they didn't say what she said. They said, are they going to testify? I mean, I know they've thrown this out there. Do they come forward? Do they actually testify, or is this performative? Much like Jenny Thomas. I look at Jenny Thomas. Immediately, Jenny Thomas is like, "I can't wait to testify and clear things up," and then her lawyer's like, "Well, let's walk that back."
I mean, I can't mind read. I don't know what they're willing to say publicly or not. What we do know is there was previous reporting that Trump wanted to go to the Capitol and had conflict with the Secret Service who would not let him go. Trump said that himself in an interview with the Washington Post. The interview was in April and it was published in early June. So Cassidy's testimony is in line with what was previously known and publicly reported. There may be little details again, like did he lunge at the wheel? Did he throw the dish? But these are really, tangential to the main storyline, which is Trump has said himself he wanted to go to the Capitol and the Secret Service wouldn't let him. That is, I think, much more crucial than some of the other smaller details.
Now, I'm waiting for the right wing to say, see, the Secret Service held him hostage. They wouldn't let him go where he wanted to go. So now they've subpoenaed this the Cipollone guy. What are we expecting out of this? Anything? I guess the first question is this a subpoena that he will fight, or is this one of those subpoenas? The only way I'll come in and talk is if I'm compelled. What do you think?
I mean, again, that goes beyond what I know. I do feel like this commission has been pretty savvy. They're not just throwing random things at the wall. If they're calling you in to testify, it's because they know something already. And again, I can't know if he is a cooperative witness or a hostile witness at this point. But they clearly know things already that they believe he can shed further light on. And if he doesn't testify, I imagine whatever it is the commission does know in relation to him, we will find out.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Now, there's some of these, as they're playing bits and pieces of the interviews that they did, there's some of these that I'd really like to just see all of them. The Hirschman, the attorney, that Hirschman, I'd love to see all of his testimony.
I mean, I imagine we're going to get it all at some point. I mean, the commission seems pretty strategic in what they release publicly. Now, if you want to be a cynic on the pro-Trump side, it might seem staged to you. They're cherry picking what they're putting out there. They're building a narrative. But I mean, they clearly are trying to tell a story, and in some ways, it's why it's so compelling.
Right, they're prosecuting a case. And look, here's where I believe, and I've already gotten some pushback yesterday. Got a lot of pushback from my Democratic friends. I believe this is all Liz Cheney's handiwork. I don't believe there are any Democrats involved in crafting this message, because they're horrible at messaging. They're horrible at communicating. They're horrible at this. I believe this is all Liz Cheney's handiwork.
I mean, they're only going to go when it is bipartisan. It is bipartisan. It may not be bipartisan the way Jim Jordan would have liked it, but it's bipartisan. I mean, I have friends who are upset that Liz Cheney is getting such a it's being so beloved by Democrats now, based on what she's said to Democrats in the past. But just objectively speaking, this never would have been on prime time if Liz Cheney wasn't there. Liz Cheney has basically told them, "I'm willing to be front and center. I'm willing to make this a bipartisan duo. I will tell you what I think is going to be the most compelling." It is immeasurable, the impact she's had on this. It doesn't exonerate her from every position or statements that are in the past, but it's just a plain fact that if this was an all-Democratic operation, it would not land the same way. It would not resonate the same way. Yeah. So if there's some reason to believe that what they're saying isn't the full story, well, Trump, well, Cipollone, well, Steve Bannon, show me. Yeah. Show me the evidence of what they're saying here is wrong. Yeah. Show up, testify, give me your documents, give me your text, give me your emails, and prove it.
Yep. Don't show up at the Four Seasons landscaping facility. Show up in the chair, put your hand on that book that you love, claim to love so much, and swear to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God, and under threat of perjury and going to jail. Yeah, I'm all in favor of it. In fact, as much time as you need. Run and motorboat and grandstand all you want.
And if we get to actual trials, if there are actual indictments, we'll have that back and forth, whether the Trumpers like it or not.
Yeah. So last question I got to get to this Roe versus Wade decision. How big of a deal is this going to be in November?
Well, again, I think it could be. I can't say it will be, because a lot of things have to happen. Namely, it has to stay front and center. I mean, I don't want to argue that I'm wishing for this to be the case, but it's just the plain fact. People have to feel the implementation of what Republicans are doing. What we had in Texas the past year, which makes a lot of Republicans think, oh, this is no big deal. Abortion's not top of mind. It's not going to play the same way Democrats think it's going to, because this is just the fact. Most people in Texas in the past year were still able to get abortions. There's data on this. It's about a 10% reduction from the past year, because most people either crossed state lines in Oklahoma or Louisiana or got pills in the mail. It's very hard, even though pills are illegal in Texas, it's very hard to enforce that because they're sent out of state in nondescript boxes. So if access was still very prevalent, even in the states where it's being banned, and people weren't feeling it, and there weren't a lot of stories about it, then maybe it's not such a big deal. However, we're having such a broad swath of land where it's being outlawed or nearly totally outlawed. So it's not going to be so easy for a lot of people to cross state lines. Now, of course, the pills are another story, but pills can't cover everybody. There's going to be there can be complications that pills can't handle, can't deal with. So the more we're hearing stories about people's difficulty getting abortions, the more it's going to be in the news, the more people it's going to feel real to people. And there's data that came out in the Washington Post just this past week. 40 of the 50 states have a pro-choice majority. So that covers a lot of states where Republicans are in charge and they're banning it or almost totally banning it. So there's a lot of ingredients where this could become a very, very big deal. It's not just like deep red states who are doing this. You're talking a lot of purple states, yeah. Arizona, Florida, Georgia, Texas, Wisconsin, where the governor doesn't even want it, but there's a 19th century law that's not been resurrected. Ohio. These are places that have governors' races, that have attorney generals' races, that have state legislative races, as well in some cases U.S. Senate races. A lot of opportunities here for Democrats to say, whatever we were mad about us before, these people are up to no good. They want to take away fundamental rights that are going to affect your lives and your daughter's lives, and you don't want that.
No, you're absolutely right. And when we start hearing the stories of emergency rooms and women dying, and we start seeing the families on the evening news of pointing fingers at this as being the reason, I think you're right. I think it has to stay top of the mind. But sadly, I do fear people are going to suffer enormously over this. But Bill, I appreciate the time and the thoughts. As always, good stuff.
My pleasure. Good to talk to you.
Our good friend Bill Scheer. I'll make sure you check out the work that he does over at the Washington Monthly. I'll take a quick break. Right back. Stick around. You're listening to The Rick Smith Show. We're working people on the talk.
I took 2 years of electric in high school, and I was the only girl in the class there. Here, I'm the only girl as far as installers go. I'm a single mom, too. I joined the union because it gave me options for health care and life insurance so that I know my son's taken care of. I like what I do. This is the best job I've ever had. You think solar panels is more like California. You wouldn't think Appalachia would have any. It would be smart if the government would invest more in clean energy resources.
Welcome back to The Rick Smith Show. Now, here is Rick Smith.
So I think Bill's right. I mean, this is one of those things where I think the Republican majority they're saying, hey, we're hoping that it just goes away. Hoping that, there'll be a little outrage. People will be upset for a little bit, but eventually they'll calm down. They'll forget. There'll be another outrage. We'll do something worse. Evidently on Thursday, we're expecting the West Virginia decision against the EPA, where the Supreme Court is expected to decide that the EPA will be able to do nothing to address climate change. Sorry, EPA. Yeah, it's your job to regulate, what happens with the environment, and your job to ensure that, people keep the air and the water clean and safe. The Clean Air Act, Clean Water Act that, made the air breathable and the water drinkable, that stuff. No, we won't be able to do that ever again. Yeah, congratulations. That's where we're going. Now that'll be an outrage, and people will be upset about that. And the thought is it'll be one cause after another. And because I've had conservative friends say that liberals are cause heads, they go from one thing after another, that they don't stick with things very long. Not untrue, but these things I'm hoping are going to be the ones that stick. Look, when Janice hit, people were upset for a little bit, but most people are like, it's just those public sector workers, screw them. And you go, no, those are workers. You allowed a segment of your own workforce, of your class solidarity to be eroded away. Again, injury to one being an injury to all. You allowed those public sector workers to get screwed over. And there was a little bit of outrage for a moment, and then they moved on. And now suffering the consequences. This can't be one of those. This can't be another, oh, well, we lost, move on. This has got to be that there's a line in the sand now. That this is too far. The EPA thing, too far. Saying that, hey, corporate America can do whatever they want. The moneyed interests can do whatever they want. That's a problem. And it should be a problem because again, do we have to go back and learn the lessons of the past? Do we have to go back and live the tragedies of yesteryear? Do my children have to fight the battles of their great-grandparents? Is that, and look, they do say history repeats itself every 100 years you go through this, and yeah, here we are again. We're rolling right through this. I'm hoping we're smarter. I'm told we're smarter. I'm hoping we actually are. And this is one of those times where you go, how do we get smarter? How do we get to where, let's do the right thing now? And this is why, again, this November, so important. And look, the way forward here is get rid of the fives. If right now you know somebody who is still supporting the former guy, forget them. They're unreachable. I don't even talk to them anymore. At this point, they're unreachable. There are some Republicans that are reachable, and I have good conversations with them. They're folks that you can have a conversation with. But the fives, you let the fives go. They're the extreme. They're the unreachable, the immovable. They're bathing in the Kool-Aid. Let them go. That simple. Focus your energy, focus your time, your effort on moving forward, making things better. Back to the idea of how do we expand rather than tear away? How do we expand our pursuit of more opportunity? How do we expand our ability to lead a better life? It's my thought. Love to hear yours. Email me, rick@thericksmithshow.com. If you miss any portion of the program, podcast, make sure you download the podcast. Get it wherever you get your favorites, from iTunes to iHeart, Stitcher to Podbean, everywhere in between. Or just go to thericksmithshow.com. Back after this.
It doesn't happen like we think it does. No one rolls the tanks. No armies meet in pitched battle. It happens quietly, little by little. And because so many think it can't happen, it does happen. Little by little, the rules change. It doesn't seem shocking or sudden. And that's the point. Fewer places to vote, longer lines. Don't worry, they say. We're just improving the system. They hope we won't notice the rules are changing because they lost the last election. They hope we just won't care enough to stop them. They believe they can take America away from us, and we won't even notice. We know who they are. We know what they want. The question is, who are we? Do we let them get away with it, or do we fight? Democracy is on the ballot. Vote while your vote still counts. The Lincoln Project is responsible for the content of this advertising.
I think it's important to share those stories and for people to understand that this is not something that's easy for a lot of folks. It's difficult. It's private, and it's going to have to become very public because it's. I've been having some conversations with some friends going, look, this isn't. There's no undoing this. There's no quick undo button. There's no redo. There's no reset on this. The court has decided, and until politically you get enough people into the halls of power to make this the part of the law. And look, I saw AOC giving her spiel on Colbert, on, hey, we need to get rid of the filibuster. Hey, we need to pack the court. We need to do those things. That ain't happening. It's nice to say, not going to happen. What you need to be doing right now is we need to be getting out into the streets. We need to be doing the hard work of organizing people. This is this moment. This is an incredible moment. This is an opportunity to reach people that, well, haven't been reached for a very long time. And this reaches into so many different places. This is an excellent opportunity for organized labor to begin organizing workers in their workspaces to ensure that corporate America makes sure that women have access to the care that they need. This is that moment, because guess what? Here's let me let you a little secret. The crazy right wing, they're already doing this. The Hobby Lobbies of the world, they've already done it. They've already denied women contraception. They've already done this work. It's now time to play a lot of catch up. And that's organizing for better wages, better hours, better conditions, better benefits. Benefits being ensuring that people have the care that they need. The privacy rights that they need. Fighting for family medical leave. Fighting for maternity leave. Fighting for the things that we cannot get legislatively. And then fighting for it legislatively. Again, what's happened in this country has been, and we've been talking about it for years here. It is amazing at how easily the working class is divided and sliced and diced and pitted against each other over nonsense, over things that affect almost no one. And, I've watched it happen. I've watched firsthand how the right wing took over the lunchroom. I watched firsthand how Limbaugh and all of the right-wing talking heads co-opted the lunchroom conversation and changed it from, hey, how do we make our lives better? How do we get better wages, hours, conditions, better opportunity for our children, but better schools, better neighborhoods? How do we make things better? Better. How did we go from a movement of Gompers, we want more of the things that make our lives better, more of the things that make our lives more noble and childhood better? How did we go from that to hate and division, to I don't care if I get it just as long as they don't? How did we get here? And the reality is the right wing spent lots of time, energy, and money focus group testing every phrase, every chain email they send out, every meme, focus group testing, think tank approved, and then they blared it out on their talk radio dominance, cable news, and just the bottom of Maslow's hierarchy, just fear and anger, and there's someone coming for you, and it worked. I remember the first time, and I'll never forget this. I'll never forget it. The first time the gay marriage issue came up, it was years ago. It was playing on the TV at a restaurant up in upstate New York, just outside of Waterbury. We were at a little diner. I think it was Exit. No, not Waterbury. Newburgh. Exit 7 on 84. We're at a little diner, and there's like 6 of us at a table, and we're all heading up north. And one of the guys sees on the TV them talking about same-sex marriage and how there's this fight going on, and the guy's like, that's an abomination. It's going to ruin the sanctity of my marriage. And I'll never forget that phrase. It's going to ruin the sanctity of my marriage. And understand, this is a guy who had a wife and a couple of kids back in Pennsylvania and a girlfriend and a kid up in Massachusetts. And I remember at the time going, hold on, wait a second. So those people that you have no idea who they are, you've never met, you're never going to meet them, you're never going to come anywhere near them, somehow they're going to ruin the sanctity of your marriage. Is that what you're telling me? But the girlfriend and the kid that your wife and kids back, that's not. And this is how the weirdness, this is one of those moments where I go, we're falling into a rabbit hole of bizarre insanity where we're projecting and we're looking at everybody else and not ourselves. And I go back to my grandfather's, don't worry about me, worry about yourself. Take care of your own house. Take care of your own affairs. Make sure you're doing the right thing. And I remember going to my grandfather, well, how do you know if you're doing the right thing? He goes, well, if you got to look over your shoulder and worry your grandmother's watching, you're not doing the right thing. How many of us are looking over our shoulder, looking to see if our grandmother's watching? Now, sadly, here's the scary part. Sadly, in this day and age, Granny's right there doing the wrong thing with us. That's the weird part of where we're at. Because we've just fallen into crazy, crazy times. Now, again, the hope is we wake up. The hope is we do the right thing. The hope is we come together and we fight on this. And the hope is we make the future better for our children. Hope is we go back to being that movement, that working class that wants more, that wants better opportunities, that wants to expand the future, that wants, needs, demands better. Just my thought. Love to hear yours. Email me, rick@thericksmithshow.com. Grab the podcast. Never miss a moment. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you back here next time.
You've been listening to The Rick Smith Show. Email Rick at rick@thericksmithshow.com. Until next time, this has been The Rick Smith Show, where working people come to talk.